Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I am, as usual, Garrett, here, as always, with Kyle, talking about, you guessed it, Heroes.
No way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, we could talk a little Warcraft 3, maybe at the end of the show. Let's hold that for the end of the show.
Yeah, we'll see where the journey takes us. I believe that there are a lot of people who went, Warcraft 3, you know what? I remember this game called Heroes where I got to play as these heroes all the time. I'll go play that game instead.
That is what happened to me, and I did not expect that to be what happened to me because I'm not usually that kind of person. That's usually like our good friend Scott Johnson. That's usually him. Like something comes out and he's like, oh, this reminds me of this other thing I haven't thought about in forever. I'm going to go play that instead.
Sure.
But although obviously it hasn't been forever since I played Heroes. But yeah, I started playing it and I was like, oh, I just kind of would rather play Heroes right now. Let's just put a pin in that and talk about it at the end of the show, shall we?
Sounds good. Good. We had a big balance update last show. We're going to give that 2 weeks to cook before we review it and see where all those heroes ended up. Right now, big winners seem to be Cho'Gall, mainly Gall, with that 40-second cooldown on Upheaval. And Anubarak is doing all right out there with his updates and maybe just some Locust Swarm wins.
Anubarak with some Locust Swarm wins, you say?
Well, yeah, they helped it out at high level. And if you make the wrong choice at 10, and then you invest further in that wrong choice at 20, that can destroy a game. So if 20 is doing better for Anubarak, he's winning a tiny bit more and has a higher win rate at the moment than last week.
Well, good for him, man. I'm still not going to take the bait.
Okay, there's one reason why you should take the bait.
Okay.
Mephisto and Lunara are really, really popular, and sometimes they end up on the same team.
Mephisto and Lunara, you said?
Yeah.
Really popular something. So you want to hold things still as an Uberak so Mephisto and Lunara can just do stupid things?
Not at all. On the enemy side, they do incremental spell damage.
Gotcha.
And that means you can run a full shield build. And I really want to encourage that out there because people are seeing a Anubarak rise in popularity and they're going, oh my goodness, right, Anubarak counters this. And they're not investing in a shield build for it. And this involves chitinous plating that gives you that cooldown reduction into urticating spines, which causes a lot of damage if you're getting these resets all the time.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's what you're looking for across the way to say, oh, right, it's a noob time.
Exactly, and this can happen with other mages too. Lunara is just really, really popular right now, and she's being picked as a sustain assassin. If they have a mage alongside it, which they should, because the sustain's a little slow, kind of that Nazebo thing, except for people too when they have Nazebo and a mage on the same team. That is a window of opportunity to play Anubarak again.
So, can I talk to you about my challenge with Anubarak?
Sure.
I feel like if he's a hero that I don't play on the regular, that he's kind of a specific counter pick, I'm not very good with him.
Yeah.
That the length of your spines and your burrow becomes second nature, at least for me, when I play him on the regular. And when I don't play him on the regular, even though I've logged a lot of games with Anubarak, I get eked out of that just little extra, which really puts you over the edge, I think, with the Anubarak because, oh, yeah, I popped out of the burrow just a hair sooner than I thought I was going to, and now I'm on one side of the wall instead of the other, and I'm dead. Or, ooh, I missed that really important stun because my spines were just a hair too short, or maybe also the travel speed of the spines. These are these things that become... They just live in the back of your mind when you play a hero like Anubarak a lot. And I really struggle when I don't get to play him, maybe 60% of the time.
Absolutely. They also have this level 16 that you're probably taking, at least 62% of people are taking all the time. Burrow charge that increases area, reduces cooldown. But that area, man, does it mess with you if you just start chaining games. And I agree. It's the stun worth of ETC. Everyone, when you see a power slide miss, you go, oh, ETC, what was that? How could you ruin the game, ETC? And it feels the same way with Anubarak, even though it's a very different style.
Yeah, you're talking about Epicenter at 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's just good, man.
It's good. I mean, debilitation does work in the situation we were just talking about, but you've already invested so much in the counter. Epicenter just stuns a whole team instead, and that's usually what you want a lot of the time.
And I think it's okay. That's an easier one. For me personally, wrap my head around. I feel like with Epicenter, like you just came out of one game where you had it, and now the next game you're locking in an Uberak again. You're going into level 1. You don't have Epicenter. I think it's okay because that's the kind of thing that's easy for me to keep in the back of my mind. Of okay, until level 16, I'm trying to hit one target with my stun. I'm not going to get cute and try and thread the needle on 2 targets and hit them both if I'm not 16 yet. But the second I hit 16, then cool, let's do it. I don't struggle with that one as much. It's more the finer nuances of travel speed and just distance that I notice immediately when I get back on an Uberak after a break that, oh yeah, I need to brush back up on this.
The one that really gets me, which doesn't come up in the shed exoskeleton thing, if you're doing full shield build, I don't suggest it. You're just going to zoom somewhere the team doesn't expect you to at 40% speed. And it can be a little rough on the team. Under King with the range increase. The damage is nice, but the range increase causes me from level 1 to 4 to bump into walls, not go as deep as I wanted to, end up completely missing. Wasn't there like a width talent for ETC back in the day?
Was there? I do not remember this.
Yes.
And I played ETC back in the day.
Double neck guitar. New talent as of 2015. May. Increased power slides width by 100% and speed by 30%. And that was at level 4. And eventually they sort of baked a lot of that stuff in. Maybe it's time to bake some into a Nubarak just to, get rid of 2 talents that are just taking the majority of the time.
Yeah, that would be interesting because that's something they haven't really messed with, right? They've been like tweaking beetles and shields and health, high health on an Uberak. Nice to see you being tweaked again. Like they've tweaked it so many times. They haven't really, you're right. They haven't really baked much in with him. And why? Well, like what if because what is Epicenter? 60% increase on the impact area. What if we back that off to 40 and bake it in? What if that just becomes his new impact area?
Looks like we baked in, it was over a year later range into ETC, but I don't think we ever added in that width. Even so, I remember being on the show, surprisingly, I actually remember this, sitting around being like, bacons. Yes, that was our first big experience with them just saying, you know what, this is too popular, here you go. And I really like that style, and I think that's a great way to balance things. Yeah.
And honestly, wow, Locust Swarm's looking better than I thought. I actually haven't looked at an Uberak stats in a while, but it's looking good. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now that you've been hoping that Locust Swarm would start to pop off a little bit because of the clump meta we find ourselves in, and Locust Swarm got a little bit of a buff, so here it is.
Yeah, he also has trouble with the healing too, because he's pretty deep, and our healers aren't really trained to heal tanks right now. Healing's in a weird spot at the moment. There's a lot of Ana mains running wild with extremely skilled play, great enemy grenades hitting at very acute times, great sleep darts. We're not banning Ana right now because of Ariel, Deathwing, Garrosh, and Kael'thas and all those sort of usuals. Once we clean up the bans, I fully expect Ana to go back in there, which means Ana will again revert to, well, I haven't played in a long time and I'll miss everything. So therefore, the same Nubarak situation will evolve. Healing right now is a really interesting scenario because it's showing in all of our games just how impactful a good support is.
Compared to when?
Compared to maybe a time where we were...
Is this coming out of your league games?
A little of both, but also, yeah, in my Storm League, yeah, it's a fascinating thing when we are running these more bruiser comps. We're into regeneration bruisers right now, so our supports are kind of taking a weird back seat. If I were to call out the main supports right now, it's kind of a tough call. Anduin is seeing a lot just because of pure numbers. I'm not seeing as many Brightwings. Ka resumes more aggressive. Never see a Malfurion. It's basically Ana, Alexstrasza, and Anduin, and all of those really benefit from heavy investment into those heroes. Not that Malfurion doesn't. I just feel like maybe the Uthers that benefit from playing a lot of tank, and these Stukovs, which kind of just play like their own thing, but still you can kind of be a little magey, are okay. Lucio mains are crazy too. It's an obvious point, but it's amazing how far our support players have gone by investing heavily in that role.
Gotcha. Yeah, you mentioned Karazim. I was expecting to see him a lot more after last week, but if anything, I think I've actually seen him a little less in my games at home than I was before he got buffed. I don't know what it is.
And it might just be that we lost that dominance of Lily. That was maybe less than a year ago now, but that just allowed everybody on the planet to have something they could heal with. And now we are extremely diverse in our supports, which makes them very interesting, but also has a very high tax on the time you need to put into them to be good.
How do you feel about the drop-off of Lily? Because Johanna has been just the fallback tank for basically the life of the hero since Johanna has been added, right? Like there was she fell off for a little bit after her first kind of nerf. Back when she and Leoric, when they hit, remember they were just stupid powerful.
Yeah.
But since then has just been the fallback tank that almost everyone kind of at least can be a little dangerous with, or at least can like get the job done with. And in really well practiced hands, she's insane. I kind of miss Lily because of that, because I feel Lily slotted into that. Lily was the backup for all of us. We were just like, well, we need a heal, and I'm not brushed up on my healers, so I guess I'll Lily. It didn't maybe bother me as much. I actually kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm talking about Lily, and in fact, Garrett and I are both talking about Lily from a platinum above sort of standpoint. Lily is still in 30% of games. I've never seen her when we play together.
But she's not consistently over 50% win rate, which she used to be. She's actually fallen quite a bit.
When you look at the tanks that are most played, Johanna is on top, followed by Garrosh, ETC, and Muradin, who is always that kind of questionable tank a little bit. They're more of bruiser assassins with engage. It's fascinating that Johanna, ETC are so high when they take such good care of themselves in terms of their own health, including Muradin and that. And then you have Garrosh and Diablo, who really need a little bit of help from the support. It's almost like half of our games we need to have good supports that support the tank, and the other half, the supports are busy with other players. And still, we have a huge majority of games where Vala's picked. I know when I was playing with Tim this week, as well as yourself, I see a lot more Valas when I end up in more of a plat territory rather than the Diamond Masters territory.
Yeah, Vala's just fun. I mean, like, I get it. I have no question as to why people are playing Vala, because when I play her, I just have a blast. She's just,
that's fair.
She's the Porsche of assassins. It's just a very well balanced, fun vehicle to drive.
But isn't it like Porsche? Is that the she's in the shop all the time? You know, like it's fun to drive, but
throwing a little shade to Porsche.
All I know is things I've heard, so I don't know if I'm right there. But
all the more reason to like Vala, because this is a video game, so it would be like if you owned a Porsche where all of your maintenance was just covered for you. Or could be, I guess. Sorry, I'm mixing analogies here.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, we still have Li Ming. Kael Foss across the leagues, still one of the most banned out and popular heroes for that. But Li Ming is actually our most picked assassin at the moment.
Li Ming? Well, again, I mean, you want to talk fun factor.
Well, Li Ming is more of a motorcycle. How about that? Like, maybe we can't agree, because I know one guy who had a Porsche in the shop all the time. But can we agree that they're both motorcycles? They're not exactly safe, but boy, are they fun.
Yes. Okay, sure. Yes, that most motorcycle owners are entirely aware of the risk they take for the joy it brings to their lives.
What we need to do is put a snowplow on the front of Li Ming's motorcycle so she can lane clear. And then it's perfect.
We're definitely mixing some metaphors here, but
it
more or less works. Why don't they just make Calamity give her some damn lane clear? Why? Why can't we have it again? Jaina can lane clear. Kael'thas can lane clear. Those are two significantly easier and more consistent mages to play. Li Ming has got to aim everything and aim it perfectly to actually be consistent. And I realize she has the potential high end of getting resets, but just give her some lane clear back. Let's do it. Why are we hemming and hawing? We let our Rhaegar ancestral heal himself. Don't even get me started on the bananas insanity that has been Ariel the last month or two. Just give it back to Li Ming. I give up. Why are we hemming and hawing?
What we need to do is you go forward with Calamity, you get the kill, you turn around, you disintegrate the lane, you throw an orb forward, get the kill, turn around, disintegrate the lane. She's got lane clear, man. We're just not using it right.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are you saying that that Li Ming's lane clear exists and it's locked behind murdering other players for resets? Yes. Is that your defense?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
I just wanted to be clear. So never mind. Case closed, everybody. Kyle has figured it out. You can lane clear as Li Ming. Just make sure you kill someone every wave.
We're looking at a orb build in 70% of games right now. I think there is to a mental aspect of just like, I threw orbs at max range. What more did you want me to do? It's not my fault I lost. That felt good, didn't it?
I really liked, like, when Li Ming first came back on the map, like, what was it, 3 months ago now, when we figured out the auto attack build? That's when I liked it the most. Super high skill floor to even enter, right? And it was just so much fun watching Li Ming's bounce around and actually get into melee range, making it work. At least when it worked, it was really fun to watch. When it didn't work, it was painful. But that was the most excited I had been about Li Ming since her entrance into Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, that's looking at about a 8% pick rate nowadays. We were talking about that, again, a year or so ago, but Li Ming was at the bottom of everything. Win rate was way down, and that's how a select few people found a way to get her back in the game, give her a place, and now Li Ming's back on top. And how interesting is that so often someone can be elevated beyond their means, everyone grabs onto them, but the build that's being used now is no longer the thing that got them there.
Yeah. I think we need to maybe... I like Zombie Jeff in the chat room suggesting give her a lane clear talent versus an orb talent. So then
that would be great.
You've got to choose. Yeah. And what orb talent do you think it should be? Because, like, I don't know, like Triumvirate or Z's Vengeance? Which one do we want to really make Li Ming's choose lane clear versus? Is it the more damage based on distance, or is it the mana refund and cooldown reduction if it travels past the half max range?
It could also just be an illusion, in all honesty. It could be that Li Ming, because of her distance, because of an orb build, survives a team fight when no one else did, and then on Battlefield of Eternity goes in the top lane and tries to clear, and it is not going well. It's taking forever, and she starts typing everybody. So we don't really need to address the lane clear in a level 1 or even on the base kit. You're absolutely right about that. I mean, Seekers at a 6% pick rate, Charge Blast at an 8% pick rate. Those are hungry for some updates. That'd be a great place to throw those versus the Vengeance and the Triumvirate.
Yeah. I don't know. I really want to incentivize Li Ming's to use their teleport to be effective at lane clear and land auto attacks.
No, I like that too, because we're entering that Blaze Muradin sort of space where you used your escape as an engage. Here, you use your escape as a lane clear, so you're creating a counterplay moment for the enemy.
Right. Exactly. And
Sylvanas has that. Like, Sylvanas is in a really good spot for that reason. You see her cast a wave for lane clear just to get some marks on stuff, and you go crazy and you go get her. And that feels good on both sides. Sylvanas knows what she did wrong. The enemy team is able to identify what she did wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Also think about the chromies, like that, like getting your back line and land auto attacks. Like,
Yeah.
it's gnarly. When you see that, you're impressed and terrified if you're having to deal with it, and you can't. But it's yeah. I just wonder, like, because that's where I want to push Li Ming, and I think a lot of that, like, those are a lot of requests that I would like to see really early in the game for Li Ming. Because if you don't give Li Ming lane clear early, it's significantly less attractive, right? Do you like, if they put lane clear back on Calamity, could we wait till 7 for it?
I think we could.
Okay.
Because of that situation I just talked about, where Li Ming is often lane clearing from behind or in a poor situation. Otherwise, she's trying to get picks in the 4-man, and the 4-man doesn't really need lane clear. I mean, we do speed up our rotations when we have a Jaina who just drops the whole lane. We grab the orb and we go. That speeds it up, which is a strategy aspect of Jaina that I think is really strong. You know, I want to take a look at Kael'thas for a moment, because Kael'thas has an amazing lane clear talent that I only really take when emergency strikes, and that's Fury of the Sunwell level 16, when I need the 2 pops to constantly get rid of catapults.
Makes sense. I mean, Kael'thas is pretty good talent diversity at that tier. I mean, Ignite still wins, but Fear the Sunwell is a healthy second place in terms of picks and win rate.
Yeah, the win rate is actually almost even. Twin Spheres having the higher win rate by 4%, but we're looking at a 2% popularity on Twin Spheres. So, you know, that's kind of the Cho'Gall situation. There's somebody out there making it happen.
There are a few things in this world I love more than going Twin Spheres on Kael'thas.
I mean, when you are in a situation where you get to go auto attack Kael'thas, Sunfire Enchantment into Pyroblast, it is a lot of fun. I haven't done it in a very long time because either ETC is threatening the front line or I'm blinded by Johanna and I miss my Sun Fury enchantments, which have to hit 2 heroes in a row in order to get the bonus from.
I just like the gotcha of having a second living bomb out a lot sooner than anyone anticipates. So like, all right,
that's true.
Yeah, we got rid of the first one. Cool, let's clump together. And where the hell did this bomb come from? And it just spreads like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're a proponent of Sun King's Fury. At least when I see you in game, it's almost Sun King's Fury all the time.
It's probably been over a month since I've thrown down with the Kael'thas, but dude, I love it. It's one of my
I'm
favorite.
an old school burn flesh guy. I have a tough time giving that up.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. More of a Sunfire enchantment guy, actually, if I can really force it. That's my favorite thing to do. But anyways, well, that's interesting, man. I'm back to practice town. I'm trying to get better at questing daggers again on Sylvanas, because I got real happy with not doing that build, and I need to add it to the tool belt.
It is convenient to do the more teleporty build, but yes, having the ability to stack. Plus, there's something really popular right now that is kind of battling with my insides as to how I understand video games. I believe it might be Not Paradox's fault.
Oh.
And we love him around here.
What did he do? Not Paradox, what did you do to Kyle?
I believe he made recently a front to back video talking about comps that are called front to back.
That is a terrible term.
Well, I get back to front because that's like you're going to dive over the tank and kill everybody and then kill the tank. But front to back is killing the tank really quickly for being out of position and then killing everybody else. And it is spread like wildfire. People are targeting tanks nonstop right now in this game. And the higher league you go, the more people target tanks. And it's kind of breaking my understanding of like not only Heroes, but World of Warcraft and everything I've learned to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, who are really popular assassins right now where you're playing, Kyle?
Sylvanas is definitely up there.
Okay.
Li Ming is just about in every game you can get. Lunara, Mephisto, and not a lot of like Tychus-y sort of things.
Okay, let's just stop with the 3 you rattled off, because it makes my case for me. Sylvanas, Lunara, Mephisto. they really like to stand still and just let you do your thing and kill them, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, but they're slippery. These are slippery heroes you're talking about.
Yeah.
And maybe Mephisto the least of the three, because most people understand how Mephisto works now, and they can anticipate where he's going back to and punish him for it.
Right.
But still, a hero that bounces around, right? So much easier to kill all the heroes you just mentioned. We just don't need to worry about a tank anymore.
Yeah. My whole play style, too, is very much based around bruisers right now, which is about keeping the back line insanely busy or getting to them when they don't expect it. And I'm back there, I'm doing my business, I'm rocking. And then I look and there's 4 people targeting one tank who's not dying. And they continue to do so throughout the game. I love the chat. Like, isn't that the normal approach? Yeah, I mean, that's like World of Warcraft tanking, right? Like, what? How did this happen? Everything we learned. I mean, what are they going next? We're going to start saying, stop targeting Morales. She can't be killed. I don't know what's going on in the game.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, like with the popularity of Sylvanas, for example, that gives you a lot of tank killing potential. Like there's just a lot of throughput there, and it stacks. And you add Lunara Poison into the mix. What does that do? That multiplicatively gets worse and increases the kill potential. So it's it just makes sense. And again, we're in this kind of clump meta. There's a lot of frontline going on, like you mentioned, bruisers. I think we're seeing a lot of double frontline across most leagues. So
yeah,
what are you going to be able to, if nothing else, what are you going to be able to hit the most consistently? And then if you add
an Uther there who can't occupy the back, he's not ETC going anywhere. He's going to stun the first thing he sees. No, you're absolutely right. Kind of just the nature of the tanks we're playing has left us in this sort of let tanks be tanks kind of world. And that wasn't how things used to be. It was more of appealing. Not appealing, a peeling kind of game where the tanks were doing peeling. Now they're actually tanking, and that's wild.
Yeah, well, and also like we've seen ETC surge in popularity, and that's another tank that's can suffer the same way that an Uberak suffers, and that he's just mortal. If you have the right tools, you can just kill ETC. It's not a trap target like the Haka used to be, right? We like, get on the Haka, and he's invulnerable, and now all of the health is back. That doesn't happen on ETC.
That's true.
So it's
Mal'Ganis and Johanna have really taken on that role.
Yeah. But even Mal'Ganis, if you have enough CC, you can just end him. So I think we've kind of been cultured. Also, I think Deathwing has done that to a certain amount, although less now because you're just not seeing him in drafted environments because it just gets banned out. But when that first week when we were all like, I want to see him, I'm going to go into a quick match. What'd you learn to do? Just kill the thing with all the health.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
There's a good point. I think we've seen a lot of culture shifts that have led to kill the tank.
And we're seeing a surge of people returning to the game, people excited about this game, and we'll see where it takes us. I'm certainly interested next week to cover those win rate stats, talk about them, and see how this thing shapes up.
Yeah. So anyways, before we get into this week's news, let's thank our patrons, Kyle, supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. The support is coming in extremely hot, man. We've picked up quite a few patrons as of late. We picked up a new Patreon producer in Mike C. And it's, dude, we're like really close to our next goal, like exceptionally close. You want a weak sauce again, man?
I do.
Do you want to do another podcast where you and I talk about things that aren't Heroes of the Storm and we just get to pal around and make jokes?
Absolutely,
dude. I can feel it. I can feel it coming, Kyle. I can feel the freedom of saying no to a contract to go talk to my buddy Kyle on a microphone for a different show.
Yes, we can almost taste the Mandalorian a little late, but
well. Yeah. Although, dude, Sideshow just announced a $350 life-size the child replica. Life-size, man.
Of course they did.
Life-size. This might be the most irresponsible purchase of my life next Christmas.
Talk to me after I don't remember moving.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. But yeah, if you like the show, you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/ITN. Whether it's $1, $5, $10, $50, whatever you are giving, it all adds up. It all helps, and we really appreciate it. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H, Cheese Bob, Chris K, Robert M, and Mike C, as well as Chris Troa, Ryokai. It's fun to say. And Spencer Braswell. Thank you very much for the support. We get you all kinds of perks, folks. Sign-ups for our patron games every month. We're doing them tonight, as a matter of fact. Access to the patron-only Discord, ad-free feed, all kinds of lovely stuff over there. Check it out, patreon.com/ITN. Now let's get into this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes, I'd mana tap that.
Cloakin is back on the interviews, Kyle.
Yes, episode 5 of The Listening Game came out, his YouTube show, and he interviewed Kyle Dates, who has been our map designer for a long time, but also became hero designer around Zul'jin. And Zul'jin was the first hero he kind of designed from top to bottom.
Yeah, this show is proving to be an interesting and deep well if you are a Heroes of the Storm or even just a Blizzard fan.
I think with time he is going to expand out and talk about other games, but right now he's getting all his hero friends on, and it is interesting stuff to hear for this kind of show.
Yeah, I mean it's what you do, right? Like he's fresh out of Blizzard. Like, who are his contacts? Who can you sit down and hone your craft with? And they're right there, and they're going to say yes. Was your coworkers? So.
And there's a lot of interesting tidbits. Some of these are based on the past, but some of them give us a view of the future, which is really interesting. When it comes to the past, during the alpha, they only had one map designer that was making all the maps in one big go.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, because
we know how long it takes to make a map because of how infrequently we get new maps. Imagine just. That's your only job? And was it the same person from like Blizzard Dota to Blizzard All-Stars 2 Heroes of the Storm? Did the same person have to come up with that chess map and then go, oh, hey, we've changed our minds. We want like 11 maps. Can we get like 11 maps or whatever? I mean, it didn't launch with 11 maps. I'm pulling a number out of thin air. I don't know the number off the top of my head that the game launched with, but that
definitely something that they encouraged the team to be working on as time went on, and as they moved out of alpha, they put more people on that map design. And they talked a little bit about Garden of Terror and how that vehicle went through, quote unquote, 1 million iterations.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I'm wondering if we'll ever hear about Battlegrounds that didn't make the cut.
We never would get to see them. The way they described it was the map designer would basically get in there with clay, as it were, digital clay, and just mold and map and place bushes, and outside of the bushes, maybe there was nothing of substance to look at. It was only after they handed it to the art team that it will actually become a map worth showing off in any regard.
Makes sense.
But there might be some like concept art sitting around. That would be fun to see.
Yeah. He also talked about like what motivated individual talent trees.
Yeah, this was to, back in the day, ease the clunk of the game, as well as the barrier to entry, make it easier to pick up heroes. And they knew very early on that they wanted to get rid of last hitting items and take the talent tree down to something specific for each hero, because they wanted everybody focused on the team fights. And what I found really interesting is they found that team leveling allowed you to know exactly where you stood against the enemy team. So much of Dota was actually spent clicking around the enemy side, seeing what level they were and if you could take them or not, and checking their item builds. Here, we look at one number and we instantly know we should not be engaging. Now, it's funny to think that they built a game that's too fun to team fight, that we have simple information and we don't follow it sometimes, but sometimes you also make a good engage and levels don't matter.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's why you look for picks. But yeah, I like that. And then I also found the talk about hero design interesting, and like kind of the talk about like nervousness around designing heroes that are big fan favorites.
Yeah, Kel'Thuzad in particular really caused a lot of stress among the team as they tried to figure out what exactly he was going to do. And then there were nebulous heroes like Imperius, and certainly Deckard Cain was one they highlighted, that we just don't really know what they do. Outside of Imperius slamming down and sort of clearing the way for us in the expansion of Diablo 3, he has a spear, and they had to make up everything else.
I would have liked to have, I want a follow-up question of like, what's easier when it's very well clearly defined from previous games what the hero does, or when it's a little more nebulous and you can have some freedom with it?
And then you've got to say what's harder too. Like, which side is it? Do you want nothing at all, or a Diablo character that does too many things and you have to be the one to decide this character's archetype?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, crying out loud, man. Like when I take like graphic design or video freelance, like the worst thing I can hear is, "Oh, just make it look nice. Just get creative." Like that's like,
yeah.
No, limit me, limit me, please. Like give me some boundaries to work within, because that's when you get creative. You're just like, okay, I have to work within these parameters. Give me something to work with, thanks. Like I always say, a napkin doodle is more helpful than you think.
That's, I mean, at least somewhere to start with, right?
Yeah, it's a jumping off point. It's also a good example of expectations of like kind of, what you're hoping for. But yeah, that's great. Dude, I felt that. Like that was just like, oh, this is a mood. Just tapping right into my creative anxieties.
Looking forward, they talked about some of the design cultures at Blizzard. And they did mention that they made a choice to make sure they were working on things that were fun, new, and exciting, and made them want to come to work every day. So in the past, we've talked about, well, why isn't this just Super Smash Bros. With maps we all know and love? And that's really the reason why, is they wanted to be inspired by their work. And it was burdensome to have to repeat things over and over again.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean,
it's what we guessed. It's very human. I fully respect it. And that ties into something going on right now with the team. And this is a quote from Kyle Dates. They continued elaborating on these things. It's really the best thing. If we continue elaborating on these things, is it really the best thing we can do for the game? Are there other things that can bring more value? How do we min-max our value? And what he's talking about here is not only just what elements they want to be working on, but if a hero is really the best thing for the game, and they bring up that it takes 9 months to make a hero, and maybe 2% of the population plays that hero, can they bring value to the game doing other systems work or working on something else? And that is really where the team's head is right now. With their size, with the resources they have, what can they execute?
I think
that would make the game.
Not to belittle the question or the answer, I just want to add that I think the team has been really good about communicating that. Overall, I think the community has been pretty damn good in receiving that information. I think there's, at least in our circle, there seems to be a really good understanding of what the team is capable of at the size that the team is at, and a kind of a collective patience from a lot of us. Like the last, like I think the week we got the balance patch last week, that was the first time I was starting to feel like we should probably get a balance patch now. It's been long enough, and then it hit. So like I really like the dreaded cadence word. I like the cadence that they're at right now. It's working. I
agree.
It's working really well for me. And like I mentioned last week, like there's room to breathe now. I can take a little extra time to wrap my head around a meta before it is completely upended. I'm enjoying it.
I'm really interested to see what their progress is on really old promises that should, I think at this point, just be ejected from our head, but they're hard to forget. Things like lost forgiveness that we heard was going to come last summer. As a person, I don't want to hold that over them, but I'm curious to know, is that the sort of value they want to bring in the future? Or what other elements do they feel like could elevate this game to more value?
I think you know me, man, that's a big one for me. I think lost forgiveness should be more prioritized. And if it is, more challenging than it seems to execute on, I would, if for no other reason than curiosity, I would really like to hear what the challenges of getting that implemented are. Because in the past, it's been a while now. I think it's been about 6 months. There was a Q&A where we got an answer from them about, oh, we can't agree what it is. And the examples given were the most insane things I think I've ever heard come out of the team, where I'm like, that's not lost forgiveness. Why are you even debating that? Like, and I'm still pretty hung up on that personally. And I don't think you meant to send me off in this direction. So for that, I apologize. But
no, this is part of this conversation, though. Like, we need to decide, too, as a community, what sort of things we can urge them to be working on. Because looking at popularity right now, I can tell you Probius, Diva, Lost Vikings are all at that 2% or below. And if we're looking at 5%, we're looking at things like Murky, Whitemane, Zarya, even Kerrigan, Maiev, and Yrel, Medivh. These are all characters, a lot of them that were pretty highly thought after, that people wanted. But maybe that investment isn't as strong. If we tie in the recent idea presented in the last balance patch that they're going to make heroes easier to use like Maiev, maybe that's the kind of value we're talking about. Getting a hero that took 9 months at a 2% pick rate and popularity to a point where it is playable and enjoyable rather than locked behind a serious wall.
So I find this entire conversation fascinating because the whole, spending whatever the amount of time is, spending a significant amount of time on anything in a game that only a small percentage of the population plays, that is an issue. That is something that would make sense. That must be a challenge and a concern for any game as a service. This happened in World of Warcraft all the way back in original vanilla with the original release of Naxxramas. They said that's why they brought it back in Wrath of the Lich King. Such a minuscule portion of the player base actually experienced, let alone cleared, Naxxramas in vanilla World of Warcraft, that they brought it back in Wrath of the Lich King, because frankly, it was new content for a lot of us. Sure as hell was for me. But what I find interesting here, and I think to a certain degree, we can make an analogy. We can draw some commonalities between those two things and stay within the Blizzard yard, right? But what I find interesting about this is, though, that 2%, they're going out into other people's games. They are still bringing an experience, and they're still manipulating and changing the experience for other players. Whereas it doesn't matter if I don't play Lost Vikings, because when Lost Vikings ends up in that game plays out drastically different than the games I play without a Lost Vikings in it. And the same can be said for like Medivh. Medivh games are insane. If there's a Medivh on my team or on the opposing team, it drastically changes my game experience. It certainly shifts it up. So that has to be a hard thing to attract. Like how do you quantify like impact, right? Just impact across it all. Like, I'm sure it hurts to look at the played percentage on some of these heroes. That's got to sting. But I don't think it should sting as much as it does. That's the point I'm trying to make, because it's affecting a much larger portion of the player base, because of that 2%, every time that hero is picked, it's affecting 9 other players in that game.
Right. And also it affects our minds, our sense of freedom. And that's what I loved about Nax when I was playing vanilla and raiding back in the day, but had no chance of ever going there. It was an unachievable goal that gave me something to awe at. And when someone rode by in anything at all from Nax, it was like, ooh. It made that world feel more alive. And having Tyrael main tank, as you say, in some distant game that I may never actually participate in, but knowing it could happen makes the game more exciting.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought about that for Naxxramas, but I think my point stands. There's a much more direct effect from even low-picked heroes and how they influence our experiences at home, even if we're not playing those heroes. So I'd like to soften that blow a little bit, because I think it's really rad when heroes I don't play end up in my games and shift things up. Just ignore all the times I complain about Lost Vikings or a Medivh on my team not being particularly impactful. Just ignore that, because that's detrimental to my argument.
Right. The stress of Sergeant Hammer on either side, it still adds to this world and this beauty that the game has in its intricacies. I'm curious to see where Kyle's going with this. He is currently a hero designer, so is he a part of these updates that make heroes easier? Or is he thinking of something more general that could be a very popular pick? We're not sure. And we'll have to wait and see what the team is thinking with this.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious on that as well, because I really like the balance updates. Like, I think they've been good. This last one probably could have taken one bigger risk somewhere, but overall, I still really liked this balance update. That to me, their ability to shift the balance of this game in a meaningful way and keep it interesting and keep it a puzzle that needs to be solved, that is not a concern of mine. I'm curious about everything else that you're talking about. Like, what else are they looking at? What else are they considering? Obviously, anomalies is a big one, right?
Yeah.
Like, that has been revealed. But what about just overall quality of life changes, right? And to a certain degree, I think the way that this anomaly, the XP orbs, has kind of been walked back in the drastic way it shook up the game. I think it is now more a quality of life improvement than anything else. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But something like loss forgiveness, and I'm just now going to use this as an example and not as something I'm trying to champion, that's something I see as quality of life change. And it's something that I think would improve the game. But how much are they interested in that side of things? Something that's not a tweak to a hero or a new hero, or essentially non-in-game features. When you're not in a game of Heroes of the Storm, how are we improving the game? I'm kind of curious about that, because we haven't really seen much of anything since Heroes 2.0, when we got a massive interface overhaul and a new loot system.
I agree. I've always wanted, like, personally, I know what I'd love, and it's something I've asked for a long time, a visual roster where all my pretty little heroes, it looks like the quick match selection screen, except for it's my roster. And I can stare at it, and I can decorate it, and they're on their mounts, and I get to see them and spin them.
That would be a nightmare because of the size difference between heroes.
Probably. But,
I want to put Asmodan in the back so he is clipping through everyone else in the front. That's what I want.
Totally. Right. Yeah. It wouldn't be beauteous, but yeah, I like decorating. What can I say?
Watching a little too much HGTV there, Kyle.
A little too much IKEA shopping. Don't put me too far on the.
Anyways, shall we get to some blue posts?
Let's do that.
All right. Apparently, there's the Asmodunk skin is firing the Q slower than other skins, and Blizz Jeff B said the chances of more bugs of this type that have a significant impact are probably pretty low. The sequence of events required for this bug to occur isn't super common, and a discrepancy much larger than this one would most likely get noticed pretty quickly by our internal testing or the community.
So be aware, Asmodans. Don't wear your Asmodunk skins for now. You are just casting Q slower. It's not projectile moving slower or popping slower. It's just something is clogged in there, and he's shooting that basketball a little delayed. They're aware of it. They're going to fix it.
And then I missed this comment from Keenan Brew. What was going on here with a problem with too many bones?
Basically, he was talking about fan favorites and how we have Deathwing and we even have Alex Draws, and we've got some really complex heroes in the game. But Manaroth, in theory, he makes sure this is nice and nebulous, so we're not sure if something's coming or not. But Manaroth and Lady Vosh might just have too many bones to make it in to the game anytime soon. And the amount of work it would take would be equal to multiple heroes.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. What's the problem with Manor? He's got two more legs.
He's got arms up front, and he's got the legs, and he's got effects down his back. He's got spines. He's grizzled and messed up, so he's not symmetrical, so you might not be able to do the mirror idea. But basically saying that the bones have repercussion on animations and performance. And if one hero is taxing the game more than others, it's not going to make it on the list as fast.
I mean, yeah, how would you imagine trying to animate Lady Vaj's like slithering tail as she descends the stairs from the altar?
And that's what they're saying. The amount of bones that are bouncing, and even if you turned yourself in the modern game like this, in Warcraft 3, you head down a hill and you just accept it. The tail goes through, no big deal. But here we would all want that tail to be slithering and making its way in an interesting fashion, even following her as she makes a curve through a bush around to the lane.
I don't know if you've been on the internet recently, Kyle, but I'm not sure anyone is actually accepting any of those things you just mentioned in Warcraft 3 right now.
That's fair. I should have used a different... Okay, Dark Souls. Everyone knows Dark Souls is jank as hell, but they love it. How's that?
Fair.
Okay.
Fair, Kyle.
Perfect.
If it was your first Dark Souls, I think if you went back to it from a newer game, you're probably like, what is this crap?
Probably. Yeah. That's a whole... Later. But bones in particular are information, and they pass through your GPU and CPU. And the more you put into your graphics card or CPU, and we know Heroes already is really taxing on the CPU part of things, at least with older generation chips, they are cautious and, quote, things could get out of hand pretty quickly.
All right. And then there appears to be a bug at the moment where masters and GMs cannot currently play together.
Yep, there's a requirement in the game where you can't be more than, I believe it was 25,000 points away from each other, which would just be 25,000 points. Can you imagine someone's master? Hey, master's friend, you want to hang out? Sorry, I've got 25,000 points. We can't play together. But it does happen over the course of a season. The game is assuming that a Grandmaster, even Master 100, has that many points away from a fellow Masters player, and they cannot group up.
That is a problem.
Because they're going to go get some Smurfs and keep playing together.
Is bad, should fix.
Yes. Speaking of which.
No. I don't want to. Dustin Browder did tweet. Sadly, it was because someone was being a total jerk to him on Twitter and didn't realize that he hasn't been on Heroes for years.
No, not for a while, but
just
he
cussing him out because of Deathwing.
Yeah, how could he let that into the game and he still give his bad wolf fix?
Poor Dustin Browder, man. I miss him so much.
Yeah.
By the way, he liked and retweeted our 300th episode. Dustin Browder, if you're listening, love to have you on, man. And we're not going to grill you. Come on and just talk about playing the game. Come on and talk to us as a player, not as a developer.
Yeah, tell us about the olden days.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great to talk to you, buddy. Love what you did. Miss you like hell. Can't wait to see what he does next, though.
Yeah.
What the hell is Dustin Browder working on?
It's a long track from the Command & Conquer to StarCraft. Like, I hope he's still in that vein because, oh man, I love me some strategy games, and I want more in my life.
As long as he doesn't go to space.
Right, he could do a space.
No, I just meant literally going to space. Like,
he's going to Mars?
Yeah, like what's his name's character? Why can't I think of the name of the actor? What's the actor's name, Kyle?
Elon Musk?
No, the dude from Command & Conquer, Tim Curry. Thank you.
Tim Curry. So yeah, you were doing a bit about Command & Conquer. I got you now.
I cannot do a Tim Curry impression.
No, that's no.
You want me to do a whole episode as Christopher Walken? I got you covered. I cannot do Tim Curry.
Perfect.
And so, Kyle, if you are ready, we can move to strategy section today and talk about you getting your butt kicked in the CCL.
That's pretty good, man. I like that.
You go with that? We can go to strategy.
Can you redo the top of the show thing where you talk about A-Move TV? Is that?
You're listening to an A-Move.tv production. Bookmark A-Move for more video game and esports podcasts. Or I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron.
Yeah. People are just going to be like, what? I don't even use bookmarks anymore, but hell yeah, I'll bookmark that.
Done. Wonderful. That's how we'll just do all of them from now on.
I bookmark recipes on my phone.
I do bookmarks like crazy. I wouldn't be able to cook a damn thing if it wasn't for my bookmark recipe section.
No. Yeah, I learned how to spices. Yes.
Yep. You want to go high. You don't want to be a spot welder with your spices. Go high and get equal distribution. Don't spot weld.
Or the real trick is parsley flakes. It just makes everything look colorful and people's minds are blown. They think you're amazing.
I don't know about that one. It just ends up in my teeth, but sure.
Why is there green stuff in my pasta? This is amazing.
I won't say anything, Kyle. I won't say anything if I come over and there's parsley all over my food, but
okay.
Anyways, let's get into it. Let's talk about the CCL, shall we?
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
I have a PhD in PvP.
So yeah, dude, you've been going hard in the CCL and having a little bit of a rough time.
No, I mean it's we've team gathered. We've taken one game off in both of our best of 3 series, but we are struggling in the CCL. All the same. I'm
legitimately curious, like what you've learned, because I'm sure it's got to be night and day difference from Storm League, and also by listening to the casters, it feels like nobody's playing the role they usually play on your team.
Well, that's a bit of a in the team kind of struggle thing. We got 3 tank players, and it's by the way, CCL is the Celebrity Clash League. It is put together by Heroes Hearth, and they were getting together a whole bunch of streamers to compete in a for-fun tournament with a prize pool, and just for the fun of it, for the energy, for Heroes of the Storm, and to bring communities together. Our team happened to have 3 tank players on it, and no support players, so what was going to be our tank became our support, and what was going to be our assassin became our main tank, and what was going to be our support became an assassin. So, but I stayed on Bruiser. I got my Thrall, and through this, I've gotten to expand into playing a lot of Leoric, a little bit of Rexar, and some Urel. And it's been really fun in order to expand that roster and to do a solo lane where, I'm doing my job. Like, the casters will come by the lane and they'll be like, oh yeah, and Kyle's doing solo lane biz, back to the 4-man. But it's not, it's free and easy for me. If the 4-man loses, I'm doing great in the solo lane, so nothing off my back. But all the same, we have been meeting as a team. We've been practicing here and there with busy schedules and whatnot, but I've learned some things that I want to share with the audience in total, because Zane Hyde is our shot caller and he's had some interesting perspectives to share.
And the front to back strategy was from Paradox, not Zane Hyde, right?
Right, but it is very popular, particularly among tank shot callers. When a tank is out of position, pros and grandmasters think that's an easy kill. Organizing an entire team to unleash on one tank in the speed that gets that tank killed is extremely difficult and tough to do unless you're all pro players. But that has continued to popularize that idea. I mean, really, when you get right down to it in organized play, rank doesn't really matter too much. Everyone is able to elevate everybody else. When we get to high end, of course, those extreme ranks are really going to put in some work. But there has been some disrespecting, and rightfully so, by Grandmaster players who think it's going to be an easy time taking out an enemy plat or enemy gold. But in an organized play environment, they are playing above that usual skill level. They're not in a weak position, or they're on a main hero, which doesn't reflect their Storm League experience.
It's almost like it's important to play heroes that you are well practiced with.
That is true. It also highlights a little bit of the struggle with Storm League, because when you get people together, they're going to play different. And when we don't have a dedicated solo queue, I'm not using this as a platform for that either, but ranks are going to be more chaotic when we let people play together.
Well, yeah, I mean, you are like a damn near strictly solo player. I would assume that going into a pre-made environment is just a wild upset of what you're used to.
Yeah, there's a lot of independent decision making that needs to go out the window. Just following your tank very, very closely and making sure you're in range of your tank. And that's something I learned a lot during my time with the core guys when we were all doing our 5 stacks. I was often on the engaged tank, way out ahead of my whole team, because I had the thought earlier than them, unable to give that second because there was an opportunity for them to catch up. And that is a fascinating aspect of mixing leagues together like this. It's also, and I struggled with this too with the core guys, and it's really, really hard to do. The disengage fight style is also really popular among grandmasters and pros. This is basically where you all run in, The enemy team drops all their abilities, you run away, and then you re-engage. I mean, think of how many times you and I have been in a Storm Lane game, Alex Straza pops Dragon. We know we should all run away. The rest of the team's still engaging. It's a very difficult strategy. It's actually pretty damn advanced.
I mean, yeah, it takes some like discipline, right? Or some patience to not want to engage that timed effect or ability is a better way to put that. That's pretty nuts. So what are you learning? Like, how do you feel you're growing or you need to grow? Like, what are you working on?
I mean, the cool thing for me and my roster is that I'm getting Grandmaster Pro opinions of what I'm playing and what I'm capable of playing. Leoric is an amazing double soaker. He's got his cleave. Not only, if we're talking skeletal swing, that's nice. His auto attack cleave can get rid of lanes and get him to another lane very fast. If someone is poking you off your map or your mount, trying to get you to rotate slower, you just ghost and you're going to get there just as fast. So Leoric double soaking is 100% a thing, and he can win a lot of solo lanes against really practical heroes. Ragnaros you can win against. Malthael depends on talent picks on both sides, but there you actually get to go with the absorb talent at level 1, where you get mana and health back. And that's a lot of fun. That's just a fun talent, and it's been cool to feel empowered on Leoric. The real surprise has been Yrel. Yrel is insanely highly regarded in Grandmaster, and I'm not quite sure why, but they love that I play Yrel, and it's been a fabulous good time.
I mean, I haven't seen you play Yrel in quite a long time, and we played some games together this week, and you jumped on Yrel, and dude, your Yrel is gnarly.
It's got some things to it. It's got the classic kind of solo lane or late game power of just not being killable in a lot of situations. It has,
I mean, to me, who I've been running around with you on my Sylvanas for a bit now, just the setups the things you set me up for is gross.
And that's really where it comes in. It is not very regarded at all in Storm League. And even in, these higher diamond moments, people do not want a Yrel on the team. The power really comes from Holy Avenger, which is bugged. And I don't want to highlight it, of course, because it's a huge part of her power pie, but it is bugged at the moment. The text says hitting an enemy hero with Avenging Wrath at maximum charge deals 25% more damage and reduces its cooldown to 1 second. The damage part is currently working on non-heroes, giving you at level 7 a lot of lane clear, and you can pretty much equal that Leoric in terms of lane clear.
Okay, gotcha. Do you think this will be one of those things that they just make the way she works like they did with White Man last week?
It's a power spike at 7, which means she doesn't start with it, which leaves her in an interesting draft environment. But as the game goes on and Yrel goes off to solo and maybe double soak or catch some waves, Holy Avenger has a huge part to play in this. The other aspects of it are really powerful as well, though. Dauntless at level 1, you sort of stagger your ability cast. That gives you 50 physical armor. Physical armor, not block charges. We're talking about physical armor for 2.5 seconds, and you're kind of juggling this thing. You can almost all the time have 50 physical armor with your own self-heal, not empowering your Q. That can be a lot of survivability. And at level 4, you have Hand of Freedom, cooldown 20 seconds, grant allied hero 35 movement speed for 3 seconds, and remove all slows and roots on them. Can be self-cast. So you slow down when you're casting a spell. Well, not so much. That Hand of Freedom can't take care of that, and now you're motoring while casting that spell.
Awesome. Well, yeah, may need to get a few pointers with you on the old Yrel. I mean, I was just so impressed. I keep kind of referring to, like, I look at you playing and it's just like, oh, you're just you're treating everyone like pinball. You're just smacking them where you want them to be, and it's gross. It's like you kind of have you have like a Chen barrel displacement just on tap way more often.
If you want to practice this at home, you charge up your Avenging Wrath, maybe in a bush, maybe just chasing, get the slow out, which you've empowered through your talents eventually, and then hit your trait for an instant Righteous Hammer to misplace them. And that's how this engage on Yrel is so powerful. And because of her insanely high survivability, she is really elevated in the minds of these grandmasters. She doesn't do as much damage as Leoric. You can top damage numbers on Leoric. She doesn't chunk people in a meaningful visual way like Leoric can do or others. It's fascinating. Imperius does really great damage too. She is so lowly regarded in Storm League, but at that top end, Yrel is a force and everybody loves to have her.
It's important to bring up. I mean, we do frequently talk about kind of the psychological impact of picking certain heroes, and Yrel can certainly have that. But I mean, we came around on Blaze, I feel like, really quick. I feel like the heroes community did a 180 on Blaze being acceptable in draft in Storm League relatively quickly. So maybe the same could happen for Yrel.
It could be popularized. Granted, we lost a lot of our games, so I'm not certainly going to be the one to champion that. And that's more Liam Black and Liam's team. But there are some strategies too, some map strategies I can share with you all that are rather interesting. When it comes to a wave map, like Tomb of the Spider Queen or Alterac Pass, Garden of Terror, if you were in control of that objective and you could cast at the perfect time, you'd want to spread out and even up all your waves. In our for fun heads, if we have a perfect stagger, let's say on Tomb of the Spider Queen, the bottom lane is going to hit the wall, the mid lane is a little back, and the top lane is all the way at your base. Our brains kind of say, all right, yeah, that means we can ride with every spider, right? That's going to be awesome. But what actually happens is the spiders lose health over time. The Alterac Pass warriors get worn down as they do their laning phase, and they're never as strong as when they first spawn.
Right.
Getting them all to spawn on the wall at the exact same time means every lane is pressured at the same time, and you have to make the enemy make a choice.
Right, as opposed to, because it's a double-edged sword with the first example, right? You're like, yeah, cool, we have the chance to push with every spider. Your enemy also has the chance to defend every spider.
Right.
And they probably will, and that final spider will have not much left to give. So, yeah, I think multi-pronged attack totally makes sense there. You and I were talking a little bit before the show, and you were talking about split push camps not being... You're not thinking about them the same way as we used to. Timing them with objectives and whatnot.
Right. Ever since armor, split pushing a camp or ammo, split pushing a camp just hasn't been as valuable. What we are thinking more about now is XP, but creating a wedge is the main idea. And that's how I was told the terminology. A middle camp creates literally a triangle, a wedge of invasion into the enemy's vision and gives you control over that lane. So taking a camp in the lane at the same time as an objective in the past was like, why would you do this? Are you insane? It's just going to get cleared. We're wasting a camp. The idea is that you clear your lane next to the objective because it opens up a world of avenues for you to escape and engage through. And I want to make a big caution here that taking this information to Storm League can be very, very tilting. I, in particular, love Infernal Shrines. And before I go into the objective pit, I'm always clearing the lane right next door because I want an avenue of escape. And I want more than one way of entry so we don't get bottlenecked by an enemy ETC. However, people are anxious. The clock is ticking. They want to be in that objective, and they'll run in regardless of where the lane is. Really take that moment to clear the lane. If you have lane clear, do that for your team. It is worth it. And if you have a camp to push with it, that is very powerful. So Tomb of the Spider Queen, taking your middle camp before you want to turn in means that you're opening 2 full roads to that turn in. You have mid control for a time. It's not about pushing with the aura. It's about that thing existing and giving you map control.
Well, I mean, in theory, this should be obviously convincing everyone of doing this. Maybe more difficult depending on beliefs in whatever league you happen to be in. But in theory, this shouldn't be that hard to pull off because you're basically telling me take the mercenary camp that's close to where we're going to be going for objective anyway. It's on the way. I mean, this shouldn't be that hard to deploy. Actually, this kind of excites me because this is the kind of thing that shouldn't be that hard to try and flex for, or even explained at the very beginning of the game, like, hey, let's just grab the mercs in the lane for objective every time the objective pops. It's the kind of thing that you can pretty quickly get that information out to your team, even in a pickup game.
It could also really help you in a solo lane environment. And let's take something like Braxis, for example. Your top lane, there is an entrance from your half, the enemy half, and through the top. If you take the time, even though the objective's ticking for the enemy team, to push out your wave, you can now enter through the top, which means you have 2 areas of entry. When you need to get out, you have 2 avenues of escape. Otherwise, you would try to run for it, and you get hit by archers while you're running. And you're cut off, and you're giving vision to the entire enemy team. This is really, really important for Rexxar players on Dragonshire. Sometimes you don't get that Baron early. You're fighting a Chen. Clear your lane, push it out, and then head on to the objective. Because now you can get around. Your Misha can go around both sides, which means Rexxar can stay in XP range the entire time.
I like that. Because I already kind of do that.
yeah. Well, you should feel good about that.
I mean, mostly I just wanted to grab like one more thing of XP before I joined the fight. This was not the strategy I was thinking in my head. I was just like, oh, let me just get one more wave. It's like one more potato chip for me.
There is a extreme view that surprised me. On Towers of Doom, you never ever go for the enemy side tower. Never ever.
Okay, why?
Because you've got your tower on your side and one in the bottom. You don't need their side tower. But what if you can take it, your brain says? Or what if we go forward and we can win a team fight there and we get all 3? Or what if we fight over the enemy side tower and meanwhile in the back, we take one of those? It is just considered insane. You are being stupid to the Grandmaster Pro mind. You are making mistakes that don't need to happen. And there is a staunch rule about this, which is why I think in a lot of streams and maybe playing alongside pros or streamers, you'll see them, add this sort of rule on top of everything else, a talent mispick, a misposition. No wonder they can get a little grumpy. I'm not blaming them. There's some pretty hardcore rules out there that you're just supposed to know, and this is one of them.
Good to know. All right, yeah, definitely was not aware of that one.
Yeah. You'd be wrong. You'd be wrong right there doing that move.
Well,
a really cool final tip I learned was have your roam hero do camps because it's more scary. So, tracers, Falstads out there, anyone who has the ability to get a quick kill, you should take it upon yourself, particularly in an organized play environment when everyone's watching the minimap, to go do something like a Giants camp. Rhaegar is great for taking camps in Storm League, but Rhaegar disappearing does not mean anybody is scared in their lanes. Tracer disappearing to go take a camp means she could be anywhere. And then once the camp dings, we know where she was, but there was a period of time where the enemy was scared about that.
Okay, that's smart. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So are you bringing this? What of this are you bringing the Storm League? Have you tried any of these new strategies in your pickup games?
I'm favoring the lane clear a little more. I'm participating in double soaks. I'm still using the old Heroes League hero rule of when I'm on cooldown for heroic, I join the team fight. So I am missing on some double soak if I choose to do that in a more solo play environment. But I have found a place for that in my own play. And then we go, oh, Entombed's on cooldown. Let's team fight. Okay, you guys are done. I've Entombed. Back to double soaking. And I want to work in more Yrel, but so far, my teams have been actually really tilted on the idea.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, that's the challenge, right? Is getting everyone on board, especially in a pickup game. And something we talk about all the time is trying to alleviate early tilt. So I can understand your hesitation, but
and I see chat talking about the Towers of Dorm rule. It's a needless risk, and when you're working in extremes with extreme scale, that's why it is such a staunch rule.
I thought you already made that clear.
No, it's just clarifying.
Oh, okay. Fair. I was on that page. But anyway, yeah. Well, rad, man. I'm really glad you made some notes for this. This is some fascinating stuff.
I'll let you know if we come up with anything else. And as the tournament goes on, I will certainly report on, as well as hopefully grab some guests for you all to talk to about this event.
I'm mostly interested in like how it applies to your Storm League games. Like what works, what doesn't, and what may be showing signs of working and maybe just needs to be refined.
I think the most interesting thing that wasn't taught to me was last night Turk 1v1 me in lane. I didn't die, but I damn near got close. I was Thrall, he was Tychus. And he did not respect me at all, as he shouldn't. He saw I rooted him, I ran at him, he's just like, nah, just kidding. I was almost gone every time.
Oh, wow.
And what he did that was so fascinating was on his solo lane ranged assassin, he sat on top of his melee minions, which meant every time I tried to collect an XP globe at all, he gunned me down. And that was really interesting. We're not gonna, when we see solo lanes, we're like, bruisers, regenerate yourself, blah, be cautious. But you take a Vol and you put yourself on top of the melee minions and you dodge every Malthael Shroud that gets cast, you would own him and deny him XP. And that's what really, really affected was not the fact that I almost died, because I didn't. It was the XP I lost because of his positioning.
That was like the issue I was having with that GM Chen on Rexar 2 weeks ago.
Every time he got in range, he was just...
Yeah, it's just like...
Yeah.
And he's just healing constantly, and it didn't matter how many shields I interrupted. And it's just something I'm not used to. I've never seen it before. I have no practice against it.
Well, and we do our, in a more casual environment, we sort of loop. We maybe get a little aggressive. We grab an orb and then we sort of loop back. And then maybe if they leave for a little bit, we take care of their archers and then we loop back. But just like the confidence of sitting on top of and denying, knowing your range denies XP range was insane. And that's something I really want to play with and use into the future, even on melee assassins.
Very interesting. Well, so did you start trying to get cute with your lightnings to try and get as many last hits with lightnings as you could?
I was trying to anyway, because I was doing the stacking quest at 1. But he also knew where I was with grenades and whatnot because of the casting. So I ended up having to hide behind the wall and have a healer run by and top me off. Well, it was a Rhaegar, so he casually healed me and I was able to get back in there a little bit. But for the most part, I just froze. Freezing the lane as a term, not like freezing as an, oh my God, I'm too scared to do anything.
Yeah, I know what you meant, but thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
Well, rad. Well, awesome. Well, when's your next game?
My next game is next Wednesday. The events always start at 6 p.m. Pacific time over at twitch.tv/Heroes Hearth.
Rad. Well, everyone go support your boy Kyle and watch those games. Cheer him on. I believe in you, man.
I think we can make 3rd place. The way the points have gone, I don't think, you believe me all you can, I don't think we'll be able to take it.
I have to realistic expectations. You go, man.
Yeah, we're going for 3rd place.
Well, rad. Well, let's take some questions before we wrap this episode up.
Darkness stopped calling.
Darkness just texted me.
It's not the moment, it's a hero brawler!
You can write into itncast@gmail.com, or if you're a patron, drop us a question in the patron Discord. Val wants to know, do you prefer wild and crazy changes, Oriel's December resurrection buff, or small tweaks, Oriel's January resurrection tweak? Usually crazy changes.
Yeah. If we remove the sense of time from things, when we look back on this in the years to come and say, 2-3 months with Auriel being banned, it's not that bad. And I'd rather have a heroic that gets picks than is slowly over the course of a full year, minorly affected and a public opinion never changes.
Yeah. That being said, I am exceptionally biased to any change that addresses heroes I am particularly passionate about and makes them better. So like the Sonya Whirlwind buff, like that's still on my mind because she's awesome. She's still good and still a pickable hero, thanks to that particular patch.
And you've all heard me moan about the inability to play Auriel since this change. So both sides are affected.
Yep. If anything, I think historically I get the most excited about base kit adjustments. If like auto attack damage goes up, or like core kit ability damage goes up, that's when my eyes get wide. I'm like, oh, am I playing this now? Are we playing this now? Is this a thing? Or is this broken now if we were already playing it? That's when I get excited. And when I get concerned is when those numbers go down.
I'm a bit of a level 20 guy. When they just come out with something just on paper that is insanity, when in all reality, it's not that big of a deal, but something like just the text is so long and so luxurious that I feel like you basically auto win at 20, right?
Kyle only plays cards in Magic that are small novels on the card text, just FYI.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Anything that costs like 8, I'm going to try to make a deck and make it work.
Yeah, I would never have guessed that about you, Kyle, considering almost every time we cover a patch, I'm going, yeah, but are you going to hit 20 every single time? And should you be planning your entire game plan around this talent?
And I'm like, what if you hit 20? What if I got 8 mana by getting mana into my hand the whole game and we got there? And then the red deck beats me. I'm like, well, that wasn't creative at all.
It doesn't matter because it works. Red deck wins, Kyle.
Once in a while.
Red deck wins. I'm actually enjoying Druid and Hearthstone for the first time because it actually feels like playing a basic ass green deck in Magic.
I have a Hearthstone opinion. They need to get rid of that poison business in Battleground. That's foolery.
Ooh,
I'm not pleased.
Hot takes by the Kyle.
Yeah, that poison biz is bad. It's bad. Yeah, I'll use some gamer terminology. It is bad for the life of the game.
There you go. I, for one, believe.
I, for one.
Just, oh, God. Anybody listening, in the sound of my voice, if you tweet at me, email me, message me, if you're in the chat room and you begin anything with I, for one, I am just falling asleep immediately after I read the word one. I'm done. I'm out. I don't care. I, for one, Kyle, think we should move on to Yelly's question.
That's a fine idea.
Yelly wants to know, would love more discussion about how to play from behind. I know it has come up before, but it's a thing in most of my games. 90% of our losses are from not knowing how to play from behind, and we snowflake instead of snowballs. Is that the opposite? I like that. There's a new use of the term. 90% of our wins are when we are ahead and we snowball, or in other words, how to win when your team is not the first to 10. Patience.
Yeah.
I get being behind. And I saw this question, but I guess I missed this last sentence. How to win when your team is not first to 10. If you're losing the majority of your games because you didn't get to 10 first, to me, that really seems like a really blatant lack of patience, because that happens. That should happen like half of your games. That shouldn't be that big of a deal. Because, like, how often, Kyle? How often do we talked about it today? Alex Strauss pops Dragon Form. Well, how do we deal with this? Stop fighting. Leave. It's a timed ability. Just cool your jets. Engage after it's over. I mean, you've essentially baited a heroic. Like, right? Like, you get stoked. Why is it we're stoked when we bait a heroic? But if a heroic happens and we continue to engage, we don't think about it that way, right?
Or an ability is the heroic because of the way the kit works, such as chains on Kel'Thuzad. The window of opportunity is smaller and our brains don't reward ourselves for that miss and we don't engage.
Right. I'm just talking about there's certain things in this world where we're like, oh, cool. We're happy to wait, but there's others where we're not. And so if you're not 10 yet, like, just don't take a fight you shouldn't. You can still get a pick, which is generally what we talk about on the show when you're behind. Play super safe, look for that pick. And I think that's true even from 9 to 10. But unless you're like 3 levels behind in their 10, which at a certain point, it might just be a bad game.
Yeah, bad draft and whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of times just play safe. You'll get to 10. You have 3 more levels until you're at a talent deficit again, and you're good to go. That's this got. I bet Yelly's experiencing some pretty rough games here.
I, as someone who has recently really taken on the solo lane in training for CCL, but also just in my home games, I have become a lot more pingy about the XP bar. And I feel like it does do some work, particularly when the talent tier advantage or they have heroics shows up there in the text. But sometimes you can't stop the engagements. Talking about it isn't going to help. There's also times where power spikes come at really weird times. Like Cho'Gall 16 suddenly can become very dangerous, and you haven't learned to respect him all game. Towers of Doom is a map that is constantly thrown because people don't stop engaging when they're very ahead, 4 shots on the enemy side, but we keep making solo engagements and the enemy team is wised up and started rotating together. There is a win rate you can track. Yes, it's on Hero's profile. Look up your own profile and see your 1st to 10 win rate. It's there right below total wins, total losses. And it's a rather interesting stat. My 1st to 10 win rate is 68.98. So I have a close to 70% win rate if I get to 10 first in my games.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to look you up.
You're going to look me up.
Yeah. I'm going to look you up.
Okay, do it. Go for it, Kyle.
Okay. All right. Well, you do something else while I do this.
Should I turn my head and cough?
No, I mean, like you talk about some more 1st to 10 or soaking. I mean, we're not bringing up soaking because it's hard to make people do.
I don't think it is. Not for this particular scenario. I feel very passionate about this with the level 10. Like, it's level 10. I have never. I'm pretty sure never. I'm sure someone at some point got mad about this, but damn near never have had anyone like get tilted, start mouthing off, get mad, strongly disagree if I have typed wait till 10 or get 10 or just pinged the XP bar if we're 9 and they're 10. I cannot remember a time where that happened. And
that's fair.
Like, the 9 to 10 is, I think, one of the most universally respected deficits in this game across all ranks and leagues. And that, like, this, and also, frankly, Kyle, this is where I will get indignant in a game if someone ever did somehow put something up. You know how we always say, listen, like, it's better to be wrong as 5 than right as 1. Like, just go with the flow, adjust to what your team is doing. Not this time. Not if you're 9 and they're 10. You stay in lane, you get 10. Screw your team.
Ideally, if Yelly's talking about organized play, this becomes a lot easier. There are other things you can do than the objective. If the entire enemy team with 10s, which they often do, sit on top of the objective because they want to deny it, you go and take them bottom fort. And that can be hard to orchestrate. The best person to make that call in a solo environment is the person with lane clear, because you're the one pushing out that lane, trying to get XP, and then you can be down there like, look at this, I'm hitting the wall anyway. I want friends, we can do this down here. And then you get 10 off that and you never engage the enemy team in the first place. I got your stats, Garrett. You are actually a higher win rate than I. You are at 70.41% 1st to 10. Well,
Kyle, when I play by myself and not with you and go up against GMs that kick my ass, I go Bestial Wrath on Rexar because it just wins games for me.
Sure. So what you're saying is you are a soak machine anyway, and this makes perfect sense.
Where I am in Platinum in games when I solo queue, just being able to win 1v1s with little effort thanks to Bestial Wrath is worth a lot. That does not apply to my mixed league games.
That's fine. I didn't know you favored Bestial Wrath so much when we're not together.
When I kind of had this breakthrough, I felt I had talked too much Rexar in the show and didn't feel the need to bring it up.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, that's that. You know how you just talked about the Tychus disrespecting you?
Yeah.
Bestial Wrath is how if I take Bestial Wrath, I probably think I can just outplay you.
Wow. That's a really cool discovery. In my league, you would be betraying everyone. The entire team would descend upon you.
A part of that is also me disrespecting my own teammates and thinking that they're not actually going to get the kills.
They're not going to chase the Unleash the Boars. They're not actually going to let you be in a position to flank
Or they're just not
so
finishing
why not?
kills, and I just want Misha to be slightly more effective.
Yeah, that's fair.
Everything about this is ego and self-absorption, but it works for me. So there you go.
That explains
You
your
got
Wrath
me,
of the
Kyle.
Berserker favor, too.
What's that?
That explains your Wrath of the Berserker favor as well.
No, I do that one for you guys. I would much rather go Leap.
Oh, okay.
I would go Leap every single game. But sometimes you don't have the follow-up. Or sometimes the opposing team, drafts quite a bit of CC, and it's just nice to have that reduction on Berserker.
You get to play the video game. That's always nice, too.
Right. Like a lot of time, and frankly, when I've been playing with you on Sonya lately, it's been Infernal Shrine, so we're going to have those pit fights, and it's also just amazing for that. So yeah, I have my reasonings. I would much rather go Leap, but Berserker is called for in certain scenarios. Anyways, yeah, that's a begrudging pick is what I wanted to say. But that's crazy. I didn't realize that. I think it's probably skewed by my league and my Rexar one tricking for a while.
It would make sense that someone who is dedicated to solo lane and soaking would win more games getting to 10 first than someone who is usually in the 4-man and now only is just doing solos and not really a soak person.
I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a really good point, because if we're not getting the 10 first, what happens? That means the other 4 are losing.
Yeah.
Which is that's your hell, right? That's your nightmare as a solo laner, is hearing those death noises going, oh, come on, I'm giving you gold up here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
yes, it is.
It's sad. And part of the reason I've been playing more and more Sylvanas. Because that's more fun, man. Like I'm liking that more now. Like just getting to be with the team, but you've got the wave clear if you need it later in the game.
Right.
I mean, we talked a lot about level 7 wave clear right now, which we could just pivot that into just not start of the game wave clear, not solo laning. Like, are you not in the solo lane, but you have wave clear? When do you start doing it, kind of thing?
And if you have 7, you should be at 7 when they're 10, so that can help you with your lane clear. So invest in those sort of things if you're getting behind to get yourself back in. I think I agree. Yeli's position is understandable. I like the terminology he gave us with snowflakes versus snowballing, but getting your team to soak shouldn't be too difficult. And if they've already taken a fort and it feels bad, there's always that they're feeding us XP now moment you can still share with your team. That does still work at that edge of the game. Once the trickle XP has been going for too long, that's when that manner of conversation feels kind of pointless.
Can we call it snow flopping?
Snow flopping. Okay.
Instead of we have snowballing and the snow flopping.
Yeah. Snow manning, snow plowing, snow.
Or like balling is a term in rap music, for like being awesome. What's the opposite of that in rap music? Like booty? Snow booty and snowballing?
Snow booty.
It's butt.
Why would that? Yeah, well, I understood the butt. I just, why is that the opposite of being a baller? Shot caller.
I'm just sorry, I've been listening to a lot of Eminem and Post Malone lately. So, been trying to vanilla icing. Thank you, Daryl Roman. We figured it out. There you go. Daryl Roman of Hot Slogs, everyone, to save the end of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh God, yeah. It's going really. By the way, going really well over at Hot Slogs. We're doing a lot of updates. Now working with Heroes Profile. Those guys are awesome. They're helping us out quite a bit. We've also added Seriousness to the team, and Professor WC and I have been talking on Twitter for like years, and just recently joined the team. So
awesome. Yeah, he was in my chat saying he was going to help out, so I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, and Seriousness is just like making crazy headway on the uploader. So again, like last week, like I don't want to overpromise, but I thought the uploader was like months away. It may not be. It may not be. I can't promise it, but it's going way quicker than we expected. So
until that moment comes, get your HOTS API uploader, because we're going to be talking stats next week, and I want your stats in this thing. Get stats on the internet. Share your games. It's helpful.
Also,
and we're going to be talking next week.
Also, the uploads now work on the website. The uploader app doesn't work, but you can go to hotslogs.com and upload directly. The success screen, we're having a weird amount of trouble changing the words. It may say something that makes it seem like it did not succeed, but it did.
Okay,
It's
nice.
weird. It's a weird little thing that we haven't quite ironed out. But the uploader on the website where you just upload directly on hotslogs.com, that does work.
Ooh.
So if you'd like to go to hotslogs.com and just upload directly, that would be awesome. So go check that out.
Will do.
Yeah, but we're knocking down. Oh, it says maintenance right now. That's right. Jagged Pixel in the chat room. Another one of our programmers is saying if it says maintenance, nothing broke. It did work. Your uploads went through. That's
awesome.
That's the gremlin we're currently one of the weird little gremlins we're trying to iron out. But much like the heroes of the team, there's larger fish to fry. Higher priorities right now than the maintenance.
Always a bigger fish.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for an episode 1 reference.
You're welcome.
You new trilogy hating human you with your episode 1 repertoire of references.
Yeah, well, what can I say? I'm an artiste who loves Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, really taking a strong stance there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Mr.
Like
Fergusson.
a rare thought.
Me, an intellectual, likes Empire Strikes Back.
As someone who likes Empire Strikes Back,
I, for one, believe.
I believe rolling is a neat trick. Spinning. That's
a good trick.
That's a good trick.
God, this one's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. Though at this point, I'm glad they screwed up Darth Maul so horribly so could he have such an amazing arc in the Clone Wars and Rebels.
Oh, dude, even in Clone Wars, like there was an episode where like C-3PO and like Jar Jar were hanging out and your brain's like, oh no, and it's fine. Like it's actually kind of funny and enjoyable.
Filoni and crew get prequel weirdness better than Lucas, who created it, I think.
Yeah.
Like they really can take those weird pieces and play with them in a good way. But anyway, it's enough Star Wars talk. We're at the end of the show. Clearly, we're off topic.
We're just advertising weak sauce, man.
Yeah, man. If you want to hear more of that, head on over to patreon.com/ITN and we'll make a podcast just for you where we talk about everything except Heroes of the Storm. And would probably get into some Clone Wars talk because that's actually a Star Wars thing that you and I agree on. We both like it. And I have a feeling we'll both be watching the final season when it starts up next month.
That we will.
Oh, that'd be fun to talk to you about. Anyways, yeah, that's going to do it for the show. Speaking of our patrons, thanks again for the support, everybody. Head on over to patreon.com/ITN to check it out. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan A, She's Bob, Chris K, Robert M, Mike C. Thank you so much for locking down those Patreon producer slots and for the extreme support, everybody. And that being said, every little bit does help. There are more $1 patrons than anybody else, and we are super thankful for you. Thank you so much. Follow the show on Twitter. It's ITNcast. We'll be back next Thursday, somewhere between 3 and 4 p.m. Sometimes Kyle and I just want to play some games, relax before the show, have some team building exercises here into the Nexus Enterprises, which is not actually a thing.
No,
we are not incorporated in any way. Could be though. We could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's an okay name. Yeah.
Why not?
Were we going to talk about Warcraft 3? Was that happening?
Oh, yeah.
Did we promise? What were we supposed to say about
it? We could. I think that it's a little overblown, man.
Well, I mean, that's just,
a little overblown.
Gaming in the internet.
Yeah.
But you know what?
So here's the boat I'm in.
Okay.
I don't think it's great. I played it. I'm like, oh, yeah, this isn't doing it for me. I do think I will play it eventually though, because I do replay Warcraft 3 about every 5 years. It hasn't been 5 years yet, and this isn't enough. Warcraft 3 doesn't control well. Post StarCraft 2, Warcraft 3's controls feel terrible. And it's
the 12 units plus no full army select from Heart of the Swarm is definitely a hit too. But that's me wanting to update.
Yeah, and it's like I think it's too faithful. So
that was the point.
So I know it's the point. So that's the thing. Like everyone's really mad about the custom map thing. I do, by the way, believe that thing about custom maps has been up since 2017. So everyone's just mad because it's good headlines and easy headlines right now. And also that's just like talk to Tim Burton and Disney having the rights to Nightmare Before Christmas. It's just how the friggin' world works. Like I don't want to. I'm so winded by chasing views. But at the end of the day, I think it's just a really low effort entry by Blizzard. Like that's my take. Like I think critique it for what it should be critiqued for, which is having issues with how it affects original Warcraft 3. Yeah. And that it's just frankly not a good game.
They didn't remaster the cutscenes, and currently those in-game cutscenes.
By the way, they announced they were not going to do that from the get-go.
No, but it's still up on the website, which is a misstep if you're, being kind.
No, they never said they were going to redo the. They never said they were going to redo the cutscenes.
No, I'm talking about the Stratholme intro.
Oh,
it's still up
you're
on the
talking
website.
about the in-game. The in-game.
Yeah,
okay, you're right.
in-game.
No, never mind. That was it. That was. I thought you were talking about the rendered cutscenes.
That's fuel for a more extreme fire. I truly believe that the game eating old profiles of people who have had this game for a very long time. That is pretty insane. And for my own sake, I really wanted to play ranked because I wanted to lose my placement matches and then find a place that was good for me to enjoy the game. And that's not happening as of right now. That kind of ties into like the way Blizzard's always sort of worked, where like they don't seem to have confidence in the release games, but it's a remaster and it was previously there. So why did it disappear? I think both of us are in agreement that we understand the arguments. It is being overblown for a lot of news sake or being used as fires for previous Blizzard arguments. Yeah,
where I kind of get annoyed is like, I think it does deserve critique. I just think that it's going in the wrong direction. Like, if you don't understand how like copyright works, it drives me a little nutty. And also the fact that no one's forcing you to make your game in Warcraft 3, go make it freaking somewhere else if you have a problem with it.
I haven't done the research into it. I heard that they're removing things like anime battles because it has copyrighted material in it. Yeah. In terms of like names and people.
Yes.
That's a bit of a shame, I guess. I mean, it speaks to a different world.
It's from a different time. Like you can't do that now.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like, why are you, that's to be mad about that just drives me insane. Like, oh my God, I can't have Naruto in my Warcraft game. Like, what this is the stupidest complaint I've ever heard.
My Samuro was Kenshin and now I can't play. No, it's so true. It's such a,
like, who gives a shit?
I'm sad about that just for my custom childhood. It has nothing to do with Blizzard. Like, it just kind of makes me go, aw.
Yeah. Again, it's just like, to me, it's like, and I'm sure people worked really freaking hard on this, and who knows what weird things. Believe me, after this Hot Slogs thing, I'm just like, there are things that are so much harder than they freaking seem sometimes. But this just doesn't seem like Blizzard quality, man. Like, and maybe the Brood War remake was the same way. I honestly didn't play because I just didn't care. So I can't speak to that. But
I understand the confusion too. They redid the first cutscene and then said in-game cutscene update, and people were thinking, Thrall McGooface waking up to Medivh Squirrely Pixel Finger was going to be updated.
I'm pretty sure you can go listen to like the post BlizzCon episode of The Instance where I think Patrick corrected me on that because I assumed that's what they were doing.
It was an easy assumption to make.
But the fact that they did say they were going to retool the in-game cutscenes and they didn't, that's not cool, man. And it was delayed. Like, it wasn't delayed that long, but it was delayed. I'm like, oh, I think that put a little hope in me for like they're going a little bit further. But like, they have these beautiful models, but the animations are still just as clunky as they ever were. It's like, it almost looks like it runs at a bad frame rate, even though when it's running at the highest frame rate it possibly can. It's very weird to me.
Well, that's another scandal I've heard, that the units themselves are locked at 20 FPS.
Oh, is that what it is? That makes a lot of sense. It looks like ass. It looks bad.
The skeletons are gnarly, though. Like, I mean, the skeletons do look nice. They're nice, like, wholesome fantasy skeletons.
Yeah. Ass equals 20 frames per second. That's Muppet Pickle in the chat with me. I guess so. I don't know. It's, I just played it. I'm like, the only thing that has impressed me are the models. Nothing else has. Like, that control style, I can't do it after StarCraft, man. I don't know what it is either, because, like, I love going back and playing Halo 1, even though I love new Halos and they do control better and yada, yada, yada. But, like, after StarCraft 2, it's really hard to go back to this. And I don't know. I don't know. To me, my biggest complaint is I would have rather had them actually bring this up into the 21st century. And I know not everyone will want that, and you're not going to make everyone happy. So I'm fine accepting that. I'm like, I don't think this was for me at the end of the day. I think this was for diehard Warcraft 3 esports lovers. And I don't care about that. So this isn't really a product I'm excited about. And I think that's okay. But at the same time, it just feels, I don't know, this doesn't feel like it has the same level of polish as what I'm used to, really, at the end of the day. And that's where I wish more of the conversation was levied around. And obviously I'm biased because that's the concern I have. So I feel like, why are we wasting our time talking about rights that Blizzard has over custom maps that are made? Because are you really going to go make a custom map for Warcraft 3? Are you really going to go do it? I don't think so.
Not at my age. No. I did make a couple, but actually custom StarCraft Brood War was more my gig.
Yeah.
Back in the day. But yeah, I mean, transforming that into its own game and exporting it and changing the engine or what have you. You know what? This is a great opportunity to say, we are so close to Week Sauce, and we could have an informed discussion about this topic on Monday if we hit that goal we are so close to. So go over to patreon.com/ITN.
All right, do it. Maybe there'll be a new Week Sauce on Monday.
Yeah.
Let's hit it. I believe in us. 20, like, what are we, $24 off? 24 people, go sign up for $1. Please. Thank you. Love you. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Kyle, before we go, where can folks find you, man, outside of the CCL, because you're doing all kinds of rad stuff?
Right. You can also find me on my own channel for that. I am allowed to stream my view. So twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. Throughout the week, you can find streams there. Heroes of the Storm play. You can also find everything I do, including the Reforged Radio, which is like a lore show and campaign show. So, don't hate me, bro. We'll see what happens over there.
Wait, you mean this doesn't start with I, for one, believe Blizzard dropped the ball and did X, Y, Z?
More, it's about the game we grew up with and it got remastered and we're enjoying ourselves.
I bet you are getting so many emails and tweets from people who are like, are you going to comment on the state of Warcraft 3 and Blizzard's... I
mean, luckily it has... Enjoy Reforged Radio. It's out now, and it's a lot of fun with Jason Lucas, and it's a great combination of both of us who just want you to enjoy the game and add a companion to that campaign you're going to enjoy it with. KyleFerguson.com for everything I do.
Yep. I'm going to play the crap out of it when I'm finally ready to re-experience that story again. That's all it needed to really be for me, even though I do think should have went a little further. Anyways, you can find musings like this on my Twitter at Garrett Art. Go check it out. Follow me on there, amove.tv, for all of the podcasts that I do. This one included. Just did a new Angry Chicken last night. Just did a new WoW Killer yesterday morning. And you can find me on The Instance, the only show I don't produce, tomorrow. So go check it out. It's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. Thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. Until next time, good luck and have fun.
Take care.
Wait till 10.